The cul-de-sac on Maple Street was usually quiet, but today it hummed with whispers and glares. Karen, the neighborhood's self-appointed watchdog, had always been a storm in human form, loud, entitled, and convinced she was above everyone else. Her latest crusade? Tom, the one-armed veteran who lived at the end of the street. Tom was a private man, his days spent tending his small garden, his disability check arriving like clockwork in his mailbox. Karen, however, was convinced he was hiding something. "He's too quiet," she'd mutter to anyone who'd listen. Probably scamming the system. Her suspicions, fueled by gossip and her own inflated sense of justice, led her to a decision that would unravel everything. It started innocently enough, Karen snooping around Tom's mailbox under the guise of checking for suspicious activity. But curiosity turned to theft when she slipped a stack of his mail into her purse, convinced she'd find proof of fraud. She didn't expect Tom to catch her in the act. He'd been watching from his porch, his single hand gripping the railing so tightly it shook. "Karen!" he roared, his voice cracking with rage. The neighborhood froze. Tom stormed toward her, his limp from an old war injury barely slowing him down. Karen, clutching the stolen envelopes, smirked. "I'm just looking out for the community," she said, her voice dripping with false righteousness. The confrontation exploded. Tom's face was a map of pain, years of sacrifice, loss, and now this betrayal by a neighbor he'd never wronged. "That's my life you're holding," he shouted, pointing at the mail. Karen scoffed, tossing her hair. "You don't deserve that check, Tom. I know your type." Her words cut deeper than any wound from his past. Neighbors gathered, phones out, recording the chaos. Some yelled at Karen to stop. Others murmured in her defense, too afraid to challenge her directly. The air was thick with tension, the kind that makes your chest tighten. Then came the twist Karen never saw coming. Among the stolen mail was a letter from the VA, addressed to Tom, containing sensitive medical records. Stealing mail was bad enough, but tampering with federal documents? That was a felony. A neighbor, fed up with Karen's antics, had already called the police. Sirens wailed in the distance, and Karen's smugness faltered. "You can't be serious," she stammered as an officer approached, handcuffs glinting in the sunlight. Tom stood silent, his eyes hollow, not with victory but with sorrow. He'd wanted peace, not this circus. Karen's arrest was swift. The neighborhood watched as she was led away, her protests echoing down the street. Tom retrieved his mail, his hand trembling. The crowd dispersed, but the weight of the moment lingered. Karen's life unraveled, her reputation shattered, her family humiliated, and a felony charge looming. Tom, meanwhile, returned to his quiet life, but the sting of distrust never fully faded. He'd fought for his country, lost his arm, and now had to fight for his dignity in his own neighborhood. The story spread like wildfire, a cautionary tale of hubris and consequence. Karen's fall was a bitter reminder that actions have weight, especially when driven by prejudice. Tom's resilience, though, spoke loud, a man who'd lost so much but refused to let bitterness win. What do you think? Did Karen deserve her fate? Or was the community too quick to judge? How do we balance justice with empathy in conflicts like these?